All right, here's the spot where we're going to put the grain bin. We have a fire pit here now in the center of this rocky area where we have chairs set up, and we put lanterns from the posts we have here, and even string some lights from post to post or from the trees here down over the fire. But we've decided to move the fire pit, so we're going to tear this out and probably set it over in this area, redig the hole and stick it back in over here. But for now, we're going to yank it out. We've already removed these blocks that were up against it. We're going to take it out, fill it back in, and remove the rock, and we're going to smooth this thing out. We're going to make this may change, but as of now, 20-foot diameter space, probably with the center of this hole being the center of where the grain bin is going to be. It might fluctuate a little bit, not quite sure yet, but we're going to take the rocks out, fill the hole in, and then scrape the dirt, smooth it out, and we're going to go with 4 inches of concrete, and then maybe I'm looking at 8 inches for the last 2 feet of the circle. So when we put our posts in to support the bin, we'll have a good amount of concrete to anchor down to. But I think it's going to be pretty awesome to have this done. Probably going to move the bin in the spring, and now it's getting to be almost October, so we're going to get on this thing, get this concrete poured, so we can at least have the pad done this year, and then we can get the bin over here in the spring and secure it down, and then start the finishing of that. Here we go. Yeah, it's super windy out here today, but I'm trying to get a little bit more done on the green bin project. I've pretty much scraped down now. I'm starting to hit a little bit of plastic. Wasn't sure if there was any plastic down here. I couldn't remember if we put some down, but did find that. Pretty much got what I wanted off the top. Got a couple piles going here, and now I'm removing the rocks around the perimeter. We decided to go 3 feet farther back from center on this point. We're going to go, instead of 10 feet from here, we're going to add another 3 feet to the distance and kind of go kitty corner back in this direction. So I'm taking the rocks out that for sure I'm going to have to move, that are going to be in the way. The ones over there are probably going to stay for now, deal with them later. I am seeing there's somewhat of a significant bump up over here, so there'll be a lot of dirt to be removed to make this thing level. These posts that I'm going to have to take out, these 3 for sure, maybe that other one later too, but they are cemented in, so that'll be somewhat of a job to dig down and pry that thing loose. Probably just going to toss these things. They're really warped pretty bad, so rock on. I am continuing to pick up rocks down here, finding some house wrap that I put down when we initially laid this. I don't remember doing that, but I did that, as well as some weed barrier. I guess the first thing I did when I came down here today too is I dug out a couple of these posts here. I did put a bag of concrete, Quikrete, in each hole. This one I was able to bust up pretty good. It was really stuck in there. We managed to get the old tractor rim out of the hole today, and I dug out all the ashes and what was left in there, and I threw them in a pile. Don't really want that stuff decaying at the bottom of my cement slab, so I eliminated that possibility, and I have scraped up the rest of the remaining rocks for the most part. I don't think I'm going to touch this bit of rocks at all. I moved a few here where it's going to infringe on them, and I've got my hole. I drove a stake in, got her centered, and that's going to be the center of the slab. And so I got to go out 9.5 feet to make my 19-foot diameter cement pad, and then I will start grabbing some of the sod and yanking it out of there and just try to get this thing as level as I can and scrape some down too. We still got a ways to go for sure, and scrape most of that back into the hole. And then I plan on getting a packer out here and pounding this down really good so we don't have any mishaps, any air pockets or anything, and make sure it's good and flat before we proceed with the concrete. So I came off my steel rod that I pounded in here and I put some string on. I went out about 10 feet roughly, actually a little bit more. Put these flags down to give me a rough estimate of where this thing is going to be. I ended up taking some more of these rocks out that are along here too, the bigger ones, because they're just going to be in the way. And I started scraping down. It's a lot of manual labor since I don't have a skid steer or nothing. Scraping it, standing in the hole and scraping the high part, which is definitely on the north end here, the northwest corner mainly, and pulling that into the pit. Just going to continue with that and try to get, basically I know I got to scrape everything down a couple inches and then kind of see where we're at, probably 4 or 5 over here. And then I want that outer 18 inches, I'd say, to be down about 8 inches when I pour that concrete, and then 4 inches everywhere else. So here we go. Decided to switch it up a little bit, and I'm busting sod just like in the old frontier days, except they didn't have a steel shovel, but maybe they did later on. But yeah, it sucks. It's a lot of work, but it's coming out fairly decent. And then it's a lot of decent black dirt underneath there, which should be easy scooping out to make this thing level. Got all the sod ripped out. Now I have a very rough idea of where this thing's gonna be. Now I gotta try to figure out where the high spots are and how deep I'm gonna go, and keep rocking. Sometimes it seems like the wind never stops here lately. Continuing to bust up this top surface. It's hard like a rock, this stuff. Almost to the point now where I can start throwing some stakes down, checking level, and just trying to measure it out and see where I need to be. And then yeah, hopefully gonna be pouring this thing next week. Just a few short days here. Continuing to make progress. This thing looks a lot better now than it did an hour ago. Trying to level the dirt out best I can. I shaved off along the edges, kind of try to make it more defined. Still trying to figure out what's level. Definitely high on this end. I'm just kind of wondering if I dig my trench, if that won't take care of it, because it looks like it's mostly high right along that rim right there. So that's within my 18 inches to get my 8-inch border. And I think I'm kind of low over here, but maybe I'll just get some more sand over in that area, so when I level it out, I think it's all going to work out. Moving along here, I'm starting to dig my trench now, the 8-inch deep trench. I figured I'd get basic distance down, and then when the sand comes, we'll worry about leveling. And I am throwing some of this stuff that looks kind of good, not too rocky and stuff. I'm throwing them on this west side because that's where it's low right now. So definitely could use a little more. Rather than taking more off the east side, I'm raising up the west side, and I think it's gonna work out. Okay, I dug out the trench. It was really sloped up because that's just how it ended up with me digging it out with a shovel. But I took a rake down there and a flat shovel, sand shovel, and I leveled it out pretty good. And amazingly, I have 8 inches of space in here for the concrete. It's actually working out pretty well. This north to south line is actually level right now, and I have 7 inches over here, which you can definitely work with. 8 inches on the other side, so that's telling me when I get the sand in, some spots are a little higher, some spots a little lower, but it'll all work out. And you can really play around with that sand, get it just the way you want it to be. Starting to stake down the grain bin gazebo foundation now. I got 4 spots marked out. I got the distance is definitely within the range we're looking for. The main thing is getting them level. So once I get these done, I'll move on to the rest of them, fill in the gaps, put a bunch more in. Then I'll go ahead and cut my forms and stick them on, and then bring in the sand, pack it down good and tight, and then it's time for the concrete. I actually got my form set now. We had a couple scrap boards that I had 4x8 sheets of like pressed wood. We cut them in 12-inch sections, and so that left us just enough to do what we had to do here. Some spots like this we overlapped it, brought the two together, and then I already had a few supports set up, or stakes pounded in. We added quite a few more, put kickers on all of them too, with the stake holding it in, so it'll stay true to form once the cement's poured. Time consuming, but definitely a 2-person job. A lot of thought kind of went into that whole process, but definitely good to have that done, and another step towards completion here. Another windy day here. When we came to put the forms down, we actually ended up putting them up higher than I thought they would be. So I needed to actually bring some of the fill in that I had dumped over here, that I pulled out originally, in this, what I call the 8-inch trench. I had to put that back in, a lot of that back in again. And so we did that, backfilled a lot of this where the forms are. We've been dumping some sand in here to get to the measurement we need. Using a 2x4 from the center out. There's our level board right there. So we still need to get a little bit more sand in here to get up to the 4-inch mark. Overall, we do have a pretty good pile here to level out, but it's not going to be like a 4-inch slab with 8 inches, 18 away from the edge, like I have kind of was thinking. It's just going to be more of a gradual slope down, which is fine as long as I get enough concrete and get her figured out. Shouldn't be a problem at all. Gonna finish filling this in, get it to where we want it to be, and then we'll get the packer that we're renting from town and pack it down good, and then cover it up and call it a day, and then the cement's coming tomorrow. Okay, we got done with packing it all down. I got about 8 inches on the edge, which I wanted, and 4 inches across the center. I just went all the way across, putting a board 2x4 in the center, leveling it to the edge, kept moving it about every foot, scraping off what I didn't need, adding where I needed to get that 4 inches. And I think it's turning out good. Cement's coming in the morning, and we are ready. Okay, we got the cement poured today, and I think it turned out really well. We decided to go with the fiber mesh concrete, and I think that was a good choice. Didn't have time to fool around with putting re-rod in there, so we just went with that, and to give it some more strength. And then we had quite a bit of extra, so we were able to put a little bit of an approach here, which I think turned out fantastic. Kind of last minute decision here. We had actually like a yard extra. We just didn't want to run out, so we ordered more than we needed to. Poured that, leading right up to the house. I think it's kind of a neat design. And yeah, so now we just wait for it to dry. It's all coming together great. Okay, I got all the dirt pushed from the piles that I had standing along the side, the piles of dirt pushed up along the side after I took the forms off, and it's kind of mounded up right now, piled up more than it needs to be, but it's going to settle for sure. And at least I don't have to deal with it killing the grass over the winter. Again, very excited to see how this is all going to turn out once we put the grain bin up here. Can't say enough about the way it looks right now. Very happy with the project so far. Really happy that the walkway turned out like it did too. That was actually kind of dumb luck the way the forms lined up, so we could put this right between the forms. So now the plan is to wait until spring and then get the bin and put it up on site. We're probably going to have about 6 different supports and then some kind of a framing system inside to tie it all together. Now we just got to wait about 6 months, I guess, until we can continue on with this project.